Hello and welcome back to my craft room. Well, I've just come up here to start recording my monthly Bonkers quilt catch-up video when I heard a little letterboxy sound. Went downstairs and I have got a little bit of happy mail here. I don't know what it is. There's no clue on the front as to who it's from, except that it's someone in the UK. It might be a swap. I'm only doing 3 swaps. I was kind of going to sit it out all together, but I just had 3 people already on my list and I decided to go ahead and swap with those 3 people. So I'm just doing 3 swaps. One of them is in Australia, one of them is in the US, and one is in the UK. So it could be who this is from. Okay, now excuse the mess on my desk, because as I say, I was just getting set up ready to record something. Oh no, I know what this is. Oh lovely. Oh, that's quite good that it's ended up that I'm opening this on a day when I'm working on the Bonkers quilt, because I know exactly what this is. Oh, and there's a little extra in it as well. So this is from our Sylvia. You will know Sylvia if you're in our Discord community. She's also in the Facebook group and you'll see her in the live chat on our streams. She's also You and Me FPP here on YouTube. Now let me take you to the desk. So Sylvia made a piece for the Bonkers quilt, but sadly it went astray. She also made a Maggie, so she made a piece, a square-ish piece for the quilt. And she also made, to put on the quilt, a Maggie Morris inspired piece. Now both of those went missing. The Maggie Morris inspired piece I don't think it ever showed up again, but she did eventually. It arrived all soggy. Her quilt piece did turn up, so she has now sent it to me. In the meantime, I had done my best to replicate Sylvia's piece that went missing and Pat's piece that went missing. So Pat is in the US. They had both sent me photographs of the pieces they were sending, so I printed out the photographs, printed them onto fabric and did my best to restitch them and recreate the pieces. So this will now go over the replicated piece on the quilt, because this is the real thing. Let me take you to the desk and we'll see what's inside. And there's something extra in here as well. So here we go. Hi Annie, I hope you like your home sweet home mug rug. How lovely. Let me come up here so I can talk to you. So the home sweet home swap is the swap that I'm kind of sitting out this time. I'm just doing 3 people. So Sylvia, bless her, has sent me a swap anyway, which is really sweet of her. And we'll get lots of use from it on your work desk. I've also sent my patch for the crazy quilt, which finally made its way back to me with just half the envelope it was sent in. If you don't want to use it on the front, as your replacement is already on it, then just whack it on the back. Lol. No, I'll put it on the front. Now this is going to be the back of it, obviously. This is the wadding on the back, you can see. Let's have a look. Oh, lovely, lovely. Look at this. Now, if you may have seen the recreation video, I'll try and remember to link to that. Never think about it when I'm editing this, where I had a photograph of this and did my best to replicate Sylvia's work. I even tried to go into to make my stitches exactly where her original stitches were, but nothing beats seeing the original. And as I suspected, the colours are much kind of lighter and brighter than they looked in the photograph. I love this. It's nice that she's got SYL, Sil. A few people have put their initials or their names or the place they live in, and that's something I'm going to be talking about in today's video. So that's really good. Oh, lovely. Oh, it's really nice to see it in person. It's around the same size as the piece that I made. So I will just put it over the top, or if I think, I'm hoping that the area where Sylvia's piece went is one of the areas I've only tacked everything down, so I should be able to just quickly take out those stitches and replace it. If not, this will just go over the top. Much rather have your original Sylvia. Oh, that's lovely. I'm really pleased that finally found its way home. Sad about the Maggie Morris inspired piece though. I wonder where that ended up with the other half of the envelope. And this is one of these mug rugs. I've seen these home sweet home mug rugs that Sylvia's been making. I'm not sure if I want to put my mug on it though, just in case I get coffee on it. It's beautiful though. I love that. I love, because the theme is home sweet home, And there's a little fox there in this little house. I love this. I love it. I love that. I just feel a bit wary of actually putting my mug on it in case I spoil it. But I suppose it's washable though, isn't it? Let's not put my painting mug on it to try it out. I haven't got a mug up here at the moment. Yeah, my Mod Podge rug. Oh, that is lovely. And it's really nice that that's just arrived just as I'm working on the quilt, and just as what I'm thinking about today in the quilt is lettering. And yeah. And Sylvia's one of the people who has actually put her name on her piece. So I'm going to put that to one side, and I think I won't make this as a separate video. I will now make this the start of the video that I came upstairs to make anyway, because I've not been babbling on for too long. So what I've been trying to do is each month, let me come back up here again, each month or so, I've been doing a little update video to show you how I'm getting on with pulling together our community quilt. I will put a link to the Bonkers quilt playlist so you can catch up and find out what it's all about, in case you missed out, right from when we first thought about it to our gathering together at the Bazaar summer event in August, and lots of Happy Meal openings where people were sending me pieces to add to the quilt, and then little filler pieces to fill all the little gaps between. And I thought it would just be nice to just give you a little update, just see how I'm working on it, what I'm doing. I'm going to do something a little bit different today, but first I want to show you a little bit of footage that I did with my phone downstairs to show you where I work on the quilt and how I set myself up. But most of the work on the quilt gets done in the evenings, so I'm going to slot that in here. Right, so I thought it would be interesting for this month's update to show you where I sit and work on the quilt. So here's my embroidery stand, which I've kind of rigged up, not using it in the way it's meant to be used. But what I've done is, hang on, trying to show you how it's one of these that's meant to be used. You know, you would fix your tapestry on here and here. I'm not using it in that way, but it does work quite well to enable me to get to especially the difficult to reach spots towards the middle of the quilt, the inside part of the quilt. Working around the edges, obviously it's much easier, but yeah, this enables me to get to the middle so I can do all my finishing stitches and stuff. And this is an area that I've been working on just recently. Lots more work still to do on it. I need to make sure all of these little gaps are filled in, all of the connecting, all of the sort of lines between pieces are filled in. Obviously, bits like this. I need to make sure everything's securely attached. And just cover any little tiny spaces. And I'll do a lot of things like, have I got any examples here where I've done it? Because this is a relatively new bit I'm working on. What I'll do is, a little bit kind of there. So I'll look at the stitching in this piece and I'll add a bit of stitching to this piece, just to help to blend them in together. And there, I've started doing that same stitch here, but in a colour that matches with these pieces, if that makes sense. Yeah, and very small spaces I'm just covering with thread, or I've started doing this weaving here. So this, between this piece that somebody made and this little triangle that somebody sent me, and this piece here and another little filler piece that somebody sent me, I ended up with this very small space, and I've just done a kind of patch of weaving in there, which picks up on the stitching that was in this original square that the person made. So yeah, that's the kind of thing that I'm doing. So what I do is roll up the edges there so that I can get to the bit that I want. And then sometimes what I'll need to do is also, this is awkward with one hand, but I'll also roll up the bottom so that I can pull this all down and get to a piece further up. So yes, it's it's definitely working, and I can either have it down flat. Sometimes it's easier to have it flat, sort of perpendicular like that. Sometimes I make it more up like this. It just depends on what I'm doing. So this is where I sit. It's usually in the evenings I work on this. The light's not fantastic in here. Obviously, I've got daylight coming through the window at the moment, but in the evenings it's a bit darker. So I've got a lamp up there that I also put on. I'll have. You'd like to think that I'd be watching my lovely crafty friends' YouTube channels, but that's what I watch during the day in my craft room. In the evening, when I'm working on this, I'm mostly watching things like The Walking Dead. She's not. I just put that on just to show you this is the reality. This is how I'll be working. You can also see my printer there, my virtual reality kit. I sometimes stand in that space you see there and thrash about playing Beat Saber. There's an unfinished Janie Crow blanket in the basket there and my guitar in the background. Stitch kit box waiting in the wings. Blanket for rug over my knees. I mean, you really need that this time of year. It gets very chilly, although I'm right near the radiator here. And over there in the background, you can see that little stack of fabric wrapped parcels, which is my Christmas wrapping for this year. I'm thrilled to bits to have discovered how easy it is to wrap presents in a piece of fabric. Not cutting the fabric at all, just folding it up to fit and wrapping it round. I think it looks really pretty. And when the lads have opened up their presents, they can give me back the fabric and it can go back in my stash. I think it looks lovely and it was so quick. No cutting, no sellotape, nothing. I could tie them up with a piece of ribbon or cord or something, but I didn't think it was necessary, so I didn't bother. Okay, right. So to the side of me here on the table, you can see my headphones, essential equipment in the evenings when John starts snoring. So they're Bluetooth headphones and they're noise cancelling, so perfect. And my remote there. Quite often there might be a G&T there instead of the coffee. And then to the side of me is everything that I need to work on this. So there's all my sewing equipment there. There's more different types of needles inside this tin. Here's that square from Mand that I just finished working on, which is now ready to go on in its space on the quilt. I've got some little words I'm going to be doing something with later in this video, which Marion printed for me. Here's an assortment of threads, still in the little boxes that I took them to the bazaar event in. And here's what's left of all the beautiful filler pieces that people sent me. I'm going to have some left over. I might still need just a few, but yeah, I will have some left over. And then in here, I'll stand up for this. I'm in my own shadow now. There's some fabric scraps here. This was sent to me by someone with the quilt piece that they sent. But most of these scraps are from bazaar scrap bundles. There's a bazaar scrap bundle there, and then this is one of the sari bags that they send their bundles out in, and this has got more bazaar bits and pieces there, so I can cut them to fit any little nooks and crannies as well if I need to. And then I've got some sari ribbon, so I've also got some sari ribbon draped over here because I use it to couch down between can't find an example now because I haven't done this bit yet, but yeah, where I've couched down bundles of thread there, I also use sari ribbon. So that just kind of seals that join between two pieces, so that when the quilt's kind of if you fold it up like that, you're not getting any gappage because you wouldn't want that. So yeah, every single join between is being filled one way or another to make sure there's no gappage. Yeah, I'm just sitting on the edge of my sofa here. It's not the most comfortable, and I have found from experience that I shouldn't let myself do it for too long because my shoulders and my back really feel it the next day. But yeah, just giving you a look now around the. Oops. There we go. So that's how the quilt is looking. So that's it. Yeah, I'll pass back to my other self now. So you might have noticed in that bit of footage or other photos that I've shared and videos that I've done previously, you might have noticed that there are a few words. There's quite a few different bits of wordage on the quilt, and today is kind of all about wordage one way or another. So some people have put their initials or just their name, where they live, or various little phrases and things, sort of uplifting phrases, which is really nice. I love seeing bits of words on quilts. So I'm going to add some more words in, and Marion very kindly printed me out some words onto fabric, some of which I've already added in, but I want to do something a bit different with a couple of them today as well. And the other kind of wordage that I want to be including somewhere is the names. I've said all along that I will be embroidering the names of everybody who sent a piece or pieces for the quilt. And I've been in two minds as to whether to stitch them onto the backing of the quilt, or make a little book that will tuck into a pocket. I've decided that stitching them onto the back is just going to give me more kind of awkward to get to work to do, because they'll have to be right in the middle of a large piece of fabric. So I wanted to do this onto something a bit smaller, and I did think a little book. I've got an overalls pocket that Suzanne in Alabama sent over with some Suffolk puffs inside. So I thought I could use that to tuck a little book into or whatever, stitch it on the back. I've now decided what I'm going to do. I know that I have about 100 names to include, and I think rather than a book, I'm going to do them as a little scroll, which could still tuck into a pocket either on the front or the back of the quilt. It could either end up on a spool or just rolled up. So let me show you what I've been getting together here. So this is a book where Jess helped me while we were at the bazaar event at our slow stitchy corner, making a start on our quilt. Jess helped me to keep a note of all of the people who made pieces while we were at the bazaar event. We may have missed one or two, I hope not. If you were at the bazaar event and added anything, even a couple of stitches to the quilt, and you don't see your name there, please feel free to give me a shout in the comments and I'll add you in, because we may have missed one or two. And I've also got another book where I kept a note of all of the pieces that were sent to me here, because I invited people who couldn't come to the event to send pieces to me here, and I would add their pieces on for them. So I've kept a note of them, and altogether we've got around 100 people from all over the world. It's fantastic. I quickly just tried scribbling out a few of the names. So that's 10 names, I think. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So I need 10 pieces that big. So it's not too daunting, is it? 10, that's 20 centimetres. That means it's going to need to be about 2 metres long, this scroll. And amongst some beautiful things that Man sent me just recently was this lovely vintage linen. There's this piece here, which I did wonder if I could somehow include it. It's beautiful. I've seen this. I think lots of you will have seen this. It was a very popular embroidery transfer back in the 30s, I think. And it's beautifully stitched. Somebody stitched this. Oh, I mean, maybe I could. I kind of feel like it would be a nice addition, perhaps on the back of the quilt or something. Perhaps with the Bonkers quilt stitched into it. Or so I don't know. I quite like the idea of that. And this seems to be exactly the same fabric. Some pieces of it, and I did think that I could just cut strips of this and write the names on there, and then overlap them and just stitch them together. So yes, I can embroider the names on, make sure I stick within a reasonable size. I think yeah, that's about 10 centimetres wide. And I'll just do these names as a scroll, which can be rolled up and tied. I think that would look really pretty. It could still tuck into a pocket. There is one, it was Vicky, the very, very last square that went on. I thought Man's square was going to be the last one. In the end, it was Vicky's square was the last one that went on, and it was quite big, and it was backed with a print fabric, and it made me think this would be quite good to use as a pocket to tuck something into. So I might end up tucking this into that pocket on the front. This is the square that Mand sent, and I think it's probably the last Bonkers quilt video I did. This is the beautiful piece that Mand did, and it was backed onto this lovely piece of linen, and because it opens like this, I still haven't put the button on because I will stitch that on when it goes on the quilt. This was a quote that Mandy put in her I got my sister Mandy, that's why it came out Mandy. Mandy loves this quote, and so do I, and she wrote it in the card that she sent me, and she also wrote it in a card to Joe at Bazaar, and Joe really loved it too. So I have put this, and that is going to be a little surprise for someone to find, whichever lucky person ends up owning this quilt. Yeah, so that's another kind of lettering that will be included. These are some of the words that Marion printed for me onto this fabric, this printable fabric, and some of them I think you will have seen in the bit of footage I just showed. I think there might be a bit on there. Some of them I've just stitched onto the quilt as they are. But I thought with these ones rather, I'm going to have a go at embroidering them. I'm not sure, because this is done on a home printer, how will it be light fast? Will it be durable? I love the fonts that Marion has used, really fun little fonts. I love the words that she's picked out. She sent me a whole load. She did a whole load. I've got them all in this envelope thing here. This actually said a caring community, but I didn't have space to put that, so I've already used the word community on the quilt somewhere, and then I thought I'll put the word caring somewhere else. So that's okay. And what I'm thinking I might do today is just have a go at embroidering these. So if I embroider on them, then there's no worry about it fading or whatever. I don't know if it would fade, but anyway, I thought it'd be quite fun to try, so I'm going to do that, and I'm going to do a little bit of experimental, making a start on my name scroll, my maker's scroll, Bonkers crew scroll. Got my I'll just throw that on the floor. Let's make myself a bit of space here. This is the overall pocket that I'm talking about, that possibly the scroll could tuck into on the back, or perhaps a little book with the story of the well, it won't be a book, a leaflet with a bit of the story. There's some of the other pieces that Marion put together. I do quite fancy stitching on them. I have now cut them out of the larger pieces of paper that she sent, so I can't just put them straight into my embroidery frame, but I could put them over the top of another piece of calico or something. They'll just be double thickness there, that won't matter. So yeah, I think they'd be really fun to stitch into. And I know I'm giving myself extra work, but it makes a change from the normal work of the quilt that I've been doing quite a lot of. So yeah, I'm quite happy to have a little change and do a bit of this. You have to keep changing it up, otherwise you get fed up with it. I've got to find that needle thread that I dropped. So I'm going to use my heat erasable pen. I'm not going to cut 10cm strips actually before I stitch on them, because I need them to fit in my frame. Well, that very conveniently would cut into 10cm strips and just leave this border, because I did have a thought that there's something else I quite fancy doing with these borders. If I put them all together like this, look, and I know that this kind of fabric takes ink tents really well, I'm just thinking there's some fun stuff I could do here. So I'll be stashing those away, but I'll use parts of these for my name scroll. Hope I'm making some kind of sense. Sort of making it up as I go along, as always. This will probably get 3 10cm strips by the look of it. Yeah, that I've got to stick roughly within that 10cm. And I'm just going to write some names on randomly and cross them, or not cross them, I'll check them off on this list as I go. In no particular order. I've squeezed people on wherever I had space in the list. I won't do all of the stitching in a frame anyway. Some of it I'll do downstairs, but while I'm filming it's easier to have it in the frame. I'm going to be using or following along with a couple of really good video tutorials from Sarah Humphrey. I will link to them in the description box. There's a short version and a long version of both the videos, and both of them are 5 different each of the videos gives 5 different stitches to do lettering with. So let's just go for it. I might do a variety. I might do some kind of cursive and some block capitals just for a little bit of a change, and different sizes. I guess where someone's got a shorter name like Mand or Lois or Sue, they can have larger letters. But where you've got like the Lucid Fox, that can be smaller letters. So let's do the Lucid Fox in smaller block capitals. I need to leave a bit of a border here to overlap for my for where I'm going to stitch the strips together, I guess. And they're not going to be straight. It's going to be just like everything on the Bonkers quilt. They're going to be all different angles. It's not the easiest writing on this fabric, actually. There. This might just be an experiment. I might decide I'll do these, hate the look of them, and do something completely different. But I just wanted to try this out, and we'll see what we think. I just want some way of commemorating the names of all the people who've contributed. That was just putting in a few stitches at the event, or whether it was sending full pieces for the quilt, one piece, several pieces, lots of little fillers. I want everybody commemorated. Let's do at least 5 different names so that I can try at least 5 different stitches. Let's go with that. Paula here, let's do a different font again for Paula. Let's do a bit of a long skinny one. I must admit, I do have to, like I mentioned earlier, I have to limit how long I let myself sit there and work on the quilt, because it can get so engrossing you forget you've been there for several hours, but your back knows all about it the next day. Back, shoulders, neck. But it is just every part of the process. I'm enjoying every part of the process. Let's put Cass here. Let's do a big cursive again. Kind of feel like maybe I just want to elaborate on that a bit. Let's do a little spiral. There we go. Gory. There we go. I think that'll do me for a minute. Okay, I've kind of wrestled that into the frame. Not done the right way at all, and it has deformed the letters a bit, but actually I think that looks fine. I'm going to go with that. I'm not going to worry about it. I think it'll be quite nice. What I am going to try and do, and as Sarah Humphrey shows really well, is keep the backside tidy, because you're going to see both sides of this potentially. I may end up backing it, but I'm kind of thinking I might not. So let's try and keep the backside tidy and do it the way Sarah shows. I'm using this variegated lovely deep pink for this, so I'm going to start with a knot. This is a number 8 perlé thread, so I might, if you wanted equivalent to this with stranded cotton, I think it's equivalent to 3 strands of a embroidery floss. So let's go with Gory's name first. I'm going to try a stem stitch with this one. Okay, so I'm just going to start over here off the work somewhere. This knot will get cut off and the loose end will get cut off later on when I'm finished. And I'm going to come up a little way up the line that I'm working on. If you want a proper professional tutorial on this, check out Sarah's video. Be much easier to follow, I'm sure. What Sarah does is she starts off with 2 tiny stitches along the line that you're going to be working. Just to anchor the thread. And now I'm going to go back to the beginning of the line and I'm going to start my stem stitch. So the thread goes off to the right. To take my stitch, I'm going to have to do reasonably small stitches, I think, to get around the curves in these letters. That's my first. No, did that wrong already. So now before I pull that all the way through, I'm going to put my needle back up, keeping that loop on the right. I'm going to put my needle back up about halfway between those 2 points. And now I'm going to take about the same size stitch again. Loop off to the right. And again coming up about halfway between the 2 points there where the last stitch ended. Another little stitch the same size ish, as near as I can get. Now I have a feeling that when I get to doing a curve in a certain direction, I'm going to end up wanting to change which way I have that loop, but I think with a stem stitch, Sarah said that loop always goes off to the right. So it may be that it becomes a different stitch when it goes off to the left, and I might have to do that to follow the curves. I know that I've only just watched the express version of her 2 5 stitches tutorials this time, but she also does a much longer version of both of them where she shows actually working on letters rather than just demonstrating the stitch on a straight line. So I know she goes into depth about how to, gives you lots of tips about how to follow the curves of letters and things, so that would be really useful to watch if you want to get into doing this. But I do love the neatness of that stitch. I'm quite pleased with that. And once I've done a couple more stitches, I'm going to cut that knot off and see how neat my backside looks. I'm finding that from working on the quilt, where it's difficult to access parts, the parts that are right in towards the centre of it, and I've got it on my frame as I showed earlier on, I'm finding that I'm becoming a bit more ambidextrous. So I am, rather than always coming up and using my right hand, which is what I would have done, at this point I'm using my left to pull the thread through. And I find I get less sort of shoulder strain and stuff because I am working in a bit of a strange way. It's a bit of a higgledy-piggledy setup, as you probably noticed, but it works. It's working for me. So I'm going to carry on and work round Gory's name, and I'll be back when I'm ready to try another stitch. There's no point in you sitting here watching me doing this for hours. Yeah, I'm quite pleased at how that's looking. Shall we try actually just snipping this knot off now? So that should be all secure now. Normally I'd just be leaving the knot on the back and I'd be crossing over between stitches, but where there's a gap between stitches I'm going to make an attempt not to cross over. I will start and finish and try to keep my backside tidy. Let's see what the backside looks like now. Oh, look at that. So I can cut this end now. We don't need that anymore because we've anchored with those little mini stitches. So my back is almost as neat as my front. I'm very pleased about that. Let's see if we can keep it up. And I will enjoy doing this. It'll be a bit of a change. It's still working on the quilt, but it'll be a bit of a change of pace. And also something that I don't have to kind of sit upright on the edge of the sofa to access my frame. I can do this kind of on my lap, so it gets a change of position as well. So that's always a good thing. Okay, I'll be back in a mo. I've finished stitching that one. It's not the tidiest. I found I had to keep changing the direction of the loop when the curve changed direction. Otherwise, I was getting gappiness. Like here, can't make it happen now, but yeah. So that needs a bit more practice, but I still think it looks quite cute, and it's fine. I'm happy with that. I'm now trying I think this is called Palestrina stitch, which is like a series of little knots. I think I probably need to get my knots a little bit closer together, really. But I suppose it doesn't matter. But it's quite a pretty little stitch and quite fun to do. So again, I would advocate going and watching Sarah's tutorial if you want a proper tutorial. But essentially, you go up the length you want between the knots. Basically, you go up slightly to the right of the line, and down through to the back, and then you come up again to the left of the line, just opposite that. Pull that through. Then you take the thread back underneath that stitch, not into the fabric, just underneath the stitch. Pull the thread off to the left so that you've got a little bit of tension on it. This is where it would be easier in a hoop, I think. And then you just take the needle underneath and come up between those two stitches there, and then you pull it up through this loop, and that's what makes the knot. So you get this row of little knots, and I suppose depending on how close together you make it, the sequence of knots, and also how far apart you do those initial stitches is going to make a difference to the size of the knots. So yeah, another fun little stitch to try, and I would be interested to do it in some different types of threads, and try it out on my underwater world collage as well. There's a few steps to the stitch, but once you've got it, it's not difficult really. It's just remembering the sequence. I think the one I'm most likely to forget is making sure I come up through this loop of thread now. Yeah, so that's quite good. So I think for Cass, I want to try the cable chain, because that looks like a really fun one to do, and that's quite nice big letters to do it on. So I'll come back to the Palestrina stitch later, and I'll just rethread something different for Cass. What should we go with? I know Cass loves purple, so let's go with purple. So obviously I can do some normal chain as well, and I can do just back stitch and whipped back stitch that I love to do anyway. Sarah shows a woven back stitch where I do a whipped back stitch. I go round and round, right to left, right to left, right to left, same direction every time through every stitch. With the woven back stitch, she shows you go back and forth like that, and you leave the thread that you're weaving with, you don't pull it too tight so that you get lovely little pretty loops. So that'd be a fun one to try as well. And definitely some normal chain, but I thought this cable chain looked really interesting to try, so I'm gonna go for it. Oh, let's make sure I do the invisible backside again. I'm very proud of my backside so far. I need to cut that a bit closer because I have woven that end in. So This end will be gone as well, so let's get rid of that. So pleased with that. And now I need to do my couple of tiny anchoring stitches, which won't show. Oh, I made that so tiny I brought it back through the same hole. And I know from unpicking, when I first did this Palestrina stitch and went wrong and had to unpick it again, it is actually really difficult to get. These tiny anchor stitches really do hold it in pretty well. It's quite hard to get them out. Right, so I'm starting this stitch just the same as you would a normal chain stitch. Got that loop going off in the direction I'm working in, and then bringing the needle up and through the loop to create that first chain. And then holding the thread up in the direction I'm working in, I'm going to wind the thread around the needle. So I'm going kind of under the thread and like that. So it's like this sort of a movement, and then going along just a little way from the stitch. I can't quite see now, I'm at the wrong angle with my varifocal, so I might have gone a bit too far along there. Let's hope not. Keeping a little bit of tension there, and then making another loop to make my next chain, trying to keep the length of the stitch about the same as the last one. So I have made that little link there a bit too long, I think. But that's a question of, because I'm trying to do it at arm's length, so it's a bit awkward. But so I'm going underneath and down, making a little loop, and bringing the needle up through it. That time I think I had my chain twisted. Let's see if we can unpick that bit. Right. That's it. So it kind of looks like it's almost like an actual chain, isn't it? I think I'll probably get a bit more uniform with it as I go along, and certainly when I can get it up under my nose. So I did one more, but I would say, yeah, definitely go and watch Sarah's tutorial to get a proper explanation. Just seem to have to sort of untwist that loop as I go. It seems to be. That was a little bit too big, but hey ho. Yeah, so I quite like that one as well. That's a bit different. Let's see, what else should we try? Couching, I thought that was a fun idea too. There's also a twisted chain. Fly stitch I know very well already, and coral stitch looks quite good. Looks kind of similar to the Palestrina knot in a way. Yeah. Twisted chain looks quite fun. Let's do a twisted chain in another colour. But I will be using all of these ideas and more, just to keep it engaging for me to work on, really, because I have got 100 names to embroider. Nice excuse to practice some of these stitches, and also practice having a tidy backside. Okay, I'm going to start on the D. I've got all these loose thread ends now. I mean, normally I am a fan of the messy backside, but for this I thought it would be quite nice to have it looking quite tidy. One of the things I loved about the piece that Man sent is that because it's applied like, oh hang on, I can't see the camera now, because it's applied like this to the background, not only gave me this space to embroider the quote on, but also you could see the back, and that's kind of representing, on behalf of all the people who contributed to the quilt, the work that went in to all of these beautiful pieces. But this is actually a very tidy backside, which I would be quite proud of. And nothing like the usual tangled mess that's on the back of my pieces. Okay, let's try the twisted chain. So I've got my anchor and stitches done. So for this, I think I'm going to not have that curved end that I did have to my D, because that's going to be a bit awkward. So I'm going to come up slightly to the right of the line that I've drawn, make my loop as I normally would do for my chain, well, kind of as I normally would do, except I'm going to go slightly to the left of the line. Normally I'd go in the same spot, and then before I put the needle up through this loop, I'm going to twist it and then come up as long as I want the stitch to be, and slightly to the right of the line again, up through the loop like you usually would. But this time I'm going to take the needle down slightly to the left of the line again. Oops, caught up on the back. So again, twist the loop rather. Oh, this is awkward at this angle. Up to the right of the line, down to the left of the line. This is quite pretty. Oops, nearly pulled it all the way through. Twist the stitch. I guess I need to make sure I twist in the same direction every time to have it look nice. Up to the right, through the loop, down to the left. Oh, I do like this one. Oops, keep nearly doing that. Twist my loop, up to the right, down to the left. Love that stitch. Very pretty stitch. I like them all. They're all a bit different. They all need practice. I'll be really good at them by the time I've embroidered 100 names. So I think I'm going to leave that there for now. I will link to Sarah's. She's got a playlist called Bunch of Fives, and all of these videos that I've mentioned are on there. Looking at this on camera now, that looks pretty dreadful. I might have to help that along with a bit of extra couching. Or take it out and make myself do it again, possibly. That might quite likely happen. But it's all practice. Some of these where I think the fancier stitches are going to have to be just where I've written the larger names. The smaller ones like this I think will just have to be a simple back stitch, or possibly a whipped back stitch. Yeah. But yeah, I'm going to really enjoy it doing that. But I think that's enough to share with you for today. It's just a little bit of a peek behind the scenes at what's been happening with the Bonkers quilt, and how I work on it and where I work on it. Just to give you an idea of how it's coming along. My aim now is to get it finished for the Bazaar event next year, so that I can bring it with me and people can have a look. And once I've got it a bit further along, I'm going to look at trying to find some places that might help us to promote it, because it's all going to be auctioned off for charity in the end, and give us somewhere to exhibit it, so that people can come and have a look. Because I just think it's just doesn't matter how I mean, I will try to get some really good footage and photos and things. I'll get Tom to help me with that. He's good at photography. But there's nothing beats seeing it in person. I would love as many people as possible to be able to see it in person, and also, you know, it gets a bit more sort of publicity to eventually, hopefully, raise some decent amount of money for charity with all of the work and the love that we've all put into this, and that's where it was all coming from in the first place. So thanks again to everyone who's contributed to the quilt. Thank you to Joe at Bazaar for all of your support and for hosting our lovely slow stitching corner. I'll link to Bazaar in the description box as well. Most of you will have heard me banging on about how wonderful Bazaar are before, I'm sure. And thank you all for watching. I hope you enjoyed that little peek behind the scenes, and I will see you again really soon.